I am so happy to see all of you here for another season of Josh's NFC West breakdowns, where we let the film tell us what we're seeing. And what we saw on Sunday was a great start to the league year. Oh my goodness, tremendous games in the NFL all across the board, including 3 good ones in the NFC West. But we're going to start today with the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. What a game that was. And to me, this matchup was intriguing all offseason. You know, the Seahawks have a relatively new head coach in Mike Macdonald. It's only his second year in Seattle, and he wants to get that big win against a division rival in front of his home crowd. The Seahawks have lost 6 out of their last 7 at home, if you can believe that. Seattle, not the home field advantage we're used to seeing in the NFL. Macdonald got his key win against the San Francisco 49ers last year, but that game was at Levi's. He's got to win one in Seattle. Brock Purdy 4-0 against the Seahawks in Seattle. The 49ers have dominated in Seattle the last several years, so I really thought that they were going to be very pumped up for this game. You know, this was going to be a huge game for the Seattle Seahawks, and I also thought that it was going to be a low-scoring defensive game, which it was. Kind of. We're going to get into all that. Welcome in, everybody. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get right into the footage. The Seahawks start the game with possession of the football, and they get right to work, putting Kenneth Walker in motion. The linebackers shift, but nobody goes with Walker, telling the Seahawks the 49ers are probably in zone. And on the first play of the game, San Francisco plays this pretty conservatively, dropping their guys way back. They don't want to give up a big play right away. And this puts Fred Warner in a difficult position. He's got to worry about number 10 coming into his zone, so he stays put, allowing JSN to come wide open behind him. Who is number 10 for the Seahawks, you ask? That's new receiver Cooper Kupp. But it's Jackson Smith-Njigba who's going to be the premier pass catcher for the Seahawks moving forward, and he hits the 49ers for 18 yards on the first play of the game. Two plays later, facing a 2nd down and 6, we already have our first unique situation I wanted to take a look at, because take a close look, that's not Sam Darnold in the game. I wondered if the Seahawks would have a Jalen Milroe package ready to go, and well, they did for at least one play here. It's very simple, just a quarterback draw behind rookie fullback Robbie Outs. The play breaks down when Jordan Elliott is able to get off his block. Robbie Outs sees Fred Warner coming right for him and is somewhat mesmerized, and Luke Gifford is able to come over and also get in on the tackle. And no relation between Luke Gifford and Frank Gifford, and you guys know I looked it up. So now the Seahawks are facing 3rd down and 5, and right away in the game, we can see that the play it safe, conservative approach of Robert Saleh has completely gone out the window. The 49ers have 10 men right up at the line of scrimmage. They've just left only 1 back deep. Sure enough, 6 men come on the pass rush, and the defenders in pass coverage are playing the receivers very aggressively with an aggressive press coverage right at the line of scrimmage, putting their hands on the receivers, not letting them get a clean release on 3rd down here. Is this legal? Is this allowed? Yeah, there's a 5-yard zone where you're permitted to do this. So here's the original line of scrimmage, and then here's the end of the 5 yards. And what I want you to watch is at the end of this 5 yards, all the 49er defenders back off. This is great technique here. Bosa gets a big hit on the quarterback, and the pass is actually caught, believe it or not, but for no gain. It is 4th down and 5. How was Bosa able to get the big hit on Sam Darnold? Well, let's take a look. At the snap, Charles Cross takes a step to his left to set up his block on Nick Bosa. He's anticipating Bosa going around to the outside, but here Bosa goes to the inside. And I want to preface this next part by saying, because the coverage was so tight here, there's really no good place to go with the football. But watch Sam Darnold. He's looking at the man outside, and he starts to throw this football and then pulls it down and moves on to his next read. And this is sort of what he was criticized for last year. In the face of these, big pass rushes, you have to get the ball out quickly. He takes the time to throw in an extra hitch, move on to his next guy, and that allows Bosa to get this hit in. The ball comes out funny. I think it hits someone's helmet there, and the result of the play is no gain. So that brings up 4th down and 5, and surely Seattle has to kick here, right? But their offense is on the field to go for it. Why? Well, Seattle's in a really tricky spot here. Take a look at the line of scrimmage. They're right on the 42-yard line. They're really kind of too close to punt, but too far away for a field goal. Field goals are getting longer and longer in the NFL now, but this would be a 59-yarder from here. That's pretty tough in Lumen Field. It's a hard stadium to kick in. So the Seahawks rather cleverly here simply try to draw the 49ers off sides. Darnold gets up to the line of scrimmage, makes a bunch of noise, but take a look at Fred Warner. He's not having it. And to me, this is one of the benefits of having a stable coaching staff in San Francisco for a very long period of time. If you think about how long we've been doing videos on this channel, it goes back a long way, and the entire time, one of the things that the 49ers work on is the AOD, Alert Offside Defense, for these kinds of situations. In the beginning, they didn't always get it right, but now they're really good at it, and it's become part of the culture of the team. And again, I think just an advantage of having that stability in the coaching staff for almost 10 years now. So to make a long story short, San Francisco gets the ball, but here they're facing a 3rd down and 8. And here we see Seattle do something that a lot of teams in the NFL like to do. They stick their defenders right at that line to gain, right at the 1st down. And what do you do if you're the 49ers? How do you approach this? How do you defeat this? Well, you run Ricky Pearsall past that line to gain, further than he needs to go. And this is not a mistake by the Seattle defense, right? This is actually a good strategy, because now you're forcing your opponent to either complete a pass underneath, say to Christian McCaffrey, for example, short of the line to gain, where he probably will get tackled before he gets that 1st down, or you force someone like Ricky Pearsall to run further than he needs to and make it a lower percentage play. Here, Christian McCaffrey is in the pattern. The linebacker has to be responsible for him, so he cannot get a lot of depth on this play. And remember that, because that's going to come up later in the game. Pearsall is essentially one-on-one against the safety now. And of course, the primary job of the safety is not to allow a long touchdown. He's going to give Pearsall a lot of space. Again, that's the correct move here. There's just simply too much space in the middle of the field. Ricky Pearsall takes the space, the defense left behind. One more thing I like about this play. Take a look at Ricky Pearsall. He's running in a straight line here. He has not started his break yet. Now turn your attention to the pocket, and this football is already almost out of Brock Purdy's hand. This is a great anticipation throw from Brock Purdy. Now at midfield, how should the 49ers follow this up? They call another play for Ricky Pearsall, naturally. They start off with the play action fake, and Pearsall goes into the pattern as if he's going to run block, and then he just simply keeps going. Tyrese Knight realizes this, but it's already too late. As we've discussed before, if you have to change directions like that, you're already beaten. Ricky Pearsall has already gotten behind him. Not to mention that Pearsall against a linebacker is a mismatch. And Brock Purdy just floats this beautiful ball up and over Tyrese Knight and lays it just perfectly in there for Pearsall. And just take a look at this run fake. The entire unit together moves as one to their left. The Seattle defense is forced to react, and we see just how difficult it is to defend that route coming across the other way. But a few plays later, the 49ers would face a 3rd down and 9. And take a look at where they are on the field. They're in a bit of a similar situation as the Seahawks on the previous drive. Too close to punt, too far away for a field goal. So it is very important for them to pick this up, and equally important for Seattle to come up with a stop here. And it appears that they do, but watch at the end, Leonard Williams hits Brock Purdy right in the side of the head. That would be a personal foul, roughing the passer. You can't do that. And it gives the 49ers an automatic first down. Two plays later on 2nd and 7, George Kittle looks like he's streaking for the end zone. In fact, we even see Julian Love take a step in that direction. And that's just enough to allow George Kittle to cut underneath. And Devin Witherspoon is also in close coverage against George Kittle, but Kittle's able to maintain a step against him. And that's pretty impressive when your big old tight end is able to maintain a step against Devin Witherspoon. It's tight coverage, but the ball is right on the money. Now, if we're being honest here, and one thing you guys can always count on with me is that I will be honest with you, Trent Williams did not have a good game. He allowed a 26.3% pressure rate, which is the highest he's ever allowed in a single game for the entire time he's been with San Francisco. After a penalty, the 49ers would be facing 2nd down and 14, and here we see Brock Purdy running around doing his thing. And we all know that Brock is, faster than advertised is always how it's described. I'm really curious to see how the Seahawks are going to play Aaron Rodgers next week in Pittsburgh, because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be able to run around and make all those kinds of same plays. In any event, the 49ers are now facing 3rd and goal at the 5, and Kyle Shanahan dials up a pretty simple but reliable play. Juwan Jennings comes to the inside on the rub route, and I've diagrammed this like it's some kind of big collision. In reality, that didn't happen. George Kittle, gives just a glance to the inside, and it slows the defender down just barely enough that Kittle has time to separate and come open for the touchdown. Touchdown 49ers, and they take the early lead in this one, 7-0. Wanting to dial up a big play to get on the scoreboard themselves, Clint Kubiak, that's Clint with a K, calls a play action fake of his own here. JSN also pretends like he's going to run block, but instead of coming all the way across the formation like Ricky Pearsall did, he bounces out to the outside. And if you're worried about Diamador Lenore being there, remember, that corner isn't really there. 21 yards through the air to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Okay, we're in the second quarter now, and the teams have switched sides, but this is still the same drive. On 3rd and 2, Zach Charbonnet is stuffed for a 1-yard loss, bringing up 4th down and 3 from their own 4-yard line, and the Seahawks decide to go for this. And I remember being surprised at the time that they didn't just take the points. 4 yards out is a long way to go, but they can get a first down at the 1, so I guess they're only 3 yards out. Maybe that was a factor, maybe not a factor, I don't know. All right, I've stopped it here because you can clearly see rookie corner Upton Stout has been beaten, and he grabs the wide receiver and prevents him from making a play on this football. And that's really unfortunate because I don't know that ball was necessarily catchable. In any event, the officials, give the receiver the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he could have tried to make a play on the ball if he hadn't been held. So they call the penalty against Stout, which gives the Seahawks an automatic first down. Charbonnet would punch it in, but that was really close to the 49ers coming up with a big goal line stand early in this game. Instead, it's a 7-7 tie. Okay, I'm going to show you this next play because it's the only sack of the game for the Seattle Seahawks, and they did a great job of explaining this on the telecast. San Francisco is going to fake the handoff to Christian McCaffrey. At the same time, Julian Love is blitzing, and it's going to be McCaffrey's responsibility to pick him up. The problem is the play fake is on the wrong side. It's not really realistic to expect him to carry out the fake and then come across and pick Love up. How do you solve this problem? You just run the fake to the other side. That to me says it's not a problem with the play design. It wasn't an error by Christian McCaffrey. The problem was with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's the one who needs to make that change at the line of scrimmage, and he didn't do it. Nevertheless, the Seahawks would go 3 and out after going to Kenneth Walker on 3 straight plays, and the 49ers would get the ball back. But a significant development has happened by this point, and that is George Kittle would have to leave the game with an injury. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks. So the 49ers adjust for that in this game by turning to Christian McCaffrey. Here we see the ball in the air and a couple of offensive linemen downfield ready to block for him. Is this legal? Yeah, they have to stay within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage. Here's the line of scrimmage. They're right on it. Again, perfectly executed. And I really like the choice of play here by Kyle Shanahan. Your quarterback just made a big mistake that got him rocked. Give him a nice, easy one. And you're adjusting to McCaffrey at the same time. Really impressed with the 49ers play calling in this game. So a few plays later, the 49ers are facing a 3rd down and 7, and Seahawks coach Mike McDonald and defensive coordinator Alan Derd are saying, all right, hey, we could be creative too. And here they dial up a pretty exotic blitz. They send Devin Witherspoon from the corner position. They drop several players back. So this is really actually just a 4-man rush here. It's an attempt to confuse Brock Purdy, who they just seen have made a mistake. They're trying to confuse him here. The problem is this is not realistic at all against a quarterback like Brock Purdy. Juwan Jennings is absolutely left uncovered here as a result of the blitz, and Purdy just throws him the football. Shanahan dials it up a notch and brings to the table a really incredible play design here. We're going to go through this step by step. To start with, both outside flankers go deep, taking the corners and the safeties with them. Next, they put Brian Robinson Jr. in motion and fake the handoff to him on a fake sweep. Kyle Juszczyk will pretend to block and then go out for a pass route. And finally, this is what makes the entire play work. Backup tight end Luke Farrell also goes out for a pass route. The middle linebacker will be responsible for picking him up. This puts outside linebacker Tyrese Knight into conflict. He has to cover both Kyle Juszczyk and Brian Robinson Jr. Who do you cover here in this situation? Well, Knight decides to pick up Brian Robinson Jr., turning loose Kyle Juszczyk, and it's almost an understandable decision. Most of the time, you're going to feel pretty good about turning loose a big old fullback. You're not expecting that guy to be lumbering 20 yards down the field, but as we know, Kyle Juszczyk is a special player. Now, as we've just seen, that was a very intricate, very long developing play design. But look at the protection Brock Purdy has here. He's got plenty of time to let this play develop. We are approaching the end of the first half, and Brock Purdy scrambles and almost picks up the first down. Comes up just barely short. So after the 2-minute warning, they do pick it up and have 1st and goal at the 6. Now, the Seattle Seahawks still have all 3 of their timeouts left, so the 49ers would like to have them use at least some of their timeouts before they score and turn the ball back over to Seattle, so they hand it to Christian McCaffrey. Seattle does call that timeout, but the 49ers lost 2 yards on the play, probably a predictable play call. So now it's 2nd down and 8 with a minute 11 left. Jawan Jennings is going to go to the pylon. It's very tight coverage, and importantly, Boye Mafe has split the double team and is going to get home to Brock Purdy. He has to throw this ball early. It was a valiant effort, but this play was just a little bit out of sync, and the pass falls incomplete. So now it's 3rd and goal from the 8. And the defense, when they know that you have to go to the end zone, has a little bit of an advantage here. They can really stick a lot of guys back there to defend that pay dirt. And to make matters worse, it looks like that pass rush is going to be putting some heat on Brock Purdy. Leonard Williams getting free there. Could he have gone to a check down like Christian McCaffrey, for example? Well, maybe. He probably doesn't get to the end zone. That's part of that advantage that the defense has. Either way, Brock Purdy wasn't looking in that direction. The pass rush is getting home. He has got to get rid of this football. And, you know, Brock Purdy, I thought, first of all, I want to make it totally clear here. I thought he played pretty good in this game. 277 yards, completed a very high percentage of his passes. 2 touchdowns, was clutch. But there were, I would say, at least 3 throws that, in my opinion, were bad throws. And I think this is one of them. Not sure if he was trying to throw the ball away here or if he was trying to hit the receiver. Either way, it's a bad throw. If he was trying to hit the receiver, it's a bad decision because that end zone is locked down. And if he's throwing the ball away, well, he didn't get enough arm on it. He didn't get it far enough out to the sideline. That ball lands in the end zone. That could have been intercepted. I think that personally, again, Brock Purdy played a good game, but not on this particular throw. So now it brings up a 4th down, and we know that Seattle is going to have enough time and a few timeouts to go get some points of their own before the end of the half. So it is critical here that the 49ers get this field goal and get some points out of this drive. Fortunately, this is an absolute chip shot. Oh, and he shanks it. It's unbelievable. A really bad effort by Jake Moody there. That really hurt the 49ers. Gives a ton of momentum to the Seahawks. Not to mention keeps 3 points off the board. And now Seattle has a chance to respond with points of their own. And of course, the 49ers don't want to allow that. So they play this pretty safe here. They don't want to give up the long touchdown. The safeties get pretty deep. I would like to see Renardo Green get a little bit deeper here. The linebackers are responsible for underneath routes. There's just a ton of space in the middle of the field, and JSN takes the space the defense left behind. It's a big chunk right when they needed it, but it is in the middle of the field with a running clock, so Seattle calls their 2nd timeout. Two plays later, 2nd and 10 with just 30 seconds left, and I really like this play from Sam Darnold. He's got Cooper Kupp here. It's tight coverage, but you know what? This time he doesn't hesitate. He just slings it. He's decisive. He gets rid of the football in a tight situation. And Cooper Kupp, what a catch. That was an impressive grab, as we're used to seeing from Cooper Kupp over the years. Quarterback and receiver working well together to continue moving the ball down the field. Great throws beat great coverage. Again, it's a completion in the middle. The clock's running, so Seattle has to use their final timeout here. Kupp gained 9 on the play, so it's 3rd and 1 with 25 seconds left in the first half. And they decide to run the ball. Now, technically, you've got time for this. They pick up the 1st down, but now they've got to spike it. They get right up to the line. Okay, they stayed calm. I don't know if I would have gone with that play call, because now there's only 12 seconds left. They have time for maybe one more play. Ball's on the 39. It would be a 58-yard field goal from here. They're kicking towards the open end of the stadium. What do you call here? Well, the Seattle coaches very astutely recognized that they probably weren't going to face too much of a pass rush here because San Francisco had to be committed to defending the end zone or any long plays to the sideline, anything like that. So they call a run. The entire offensive line moves to the right. They're calculating here that Darnold will be able to get to the sideline. And guess what? They calculated correctly. It was a brilliant play call. It gets extra yards for their kicker and stops the clock. Myers makes the kick with just 2 seconds left, and the 49ers would go down 7-10 as they went into halftime. Do you like these videos? Well, this channel might be going away. It is getting harder and harder to put content like this on YouTube. We are quickly getting to the point where we are going to have to move everybody over to the Patreon channel. So, for that reason, I have decided that all of these weekly breakdowns that I do of the NFC West will remain 100% free for our free members on our Patreon page. And if you become a paid member, you get access to all of the bonus content as well. And folks, we have tiers starting at as little as $2 a month. Once again, it is completely free to join and you get access to these videos. And if you want to upgrade your membership, you can do so at as little as $2 a month and get access to all of the bonus content that comes with it. I'll see you on Patreon. Link is in the description. Okay, so the 49ers are going to get the football to start the third quarter, hoping to erase some of the sloppy mistakes they made at the end of the second half, mainly in the kicking game. And right away, we see a free rusher coming at Brock Purdy, but he just stays calm and steps up into the pocket. He gets a really good look at the field here, doesn't like what he sees, but again, just stays calm and checks it down to Christian McCaffrey. And that's not only a good decision, it also showcases, again, what an advantage the 49ers have with CMC. When you're just checking it down, you're getting the ball into the hands of one of your best playmakers, and he can explode from anywhere on the field. "25 yards for CMC. The 49ers are off to a great start in the second half, but later on in the drive, Seattle would come up with a key defensive play. Coach Mike McDonald decides to bring pressure. So Christian McCaffrey is forced to help out with pass protection, and this would be a significant part of the play. In the pocket, we can see Brock Purdy is winding up to throw this football, and it looks like he has Juwan Jennings open for a big play down the field. But take a look at the linebacker. He has great depth on this play. He is way back there. Why? Well, he doesn't have to worry about picking up Christian McCaffrey on this play. It affords him the luxury of getting depth. And by the way, that's not just any linebacker. That's Ernest Jones. Interception, and that's a big play for the Seahawks. Seattle offense goes to work and would be facing a 3rd down and 3. And they have a play that should be successful. This ball hits Cooper Kupp right in the hands, but as good as Kupp is, he drops this one. The Seahawks go 3 and out after the interception. And at this point in the contest, the 49ers really started to get their ground game going. Jake Brendel will snap the football and then fire off to the second level. This allows Dominic Pooney to slide over and pick up the tackle. They don't worry too much about picking up the defensive end, and this allows Colton McKivitz to pick up Ernest Jones. opening up the hole for CMC. They follow this up by having Trent Williams and Jake Tonges lead the way on the outside run to Brian Robinson Jr. They give Robinson Jr. another carry to the right this time, and it looks like he's stuffed, but he stays on his feet and continues forward. What a great physical run that was, gaining extra yardage after contact. On the next play, the 49ers send some receivers deep, and again the linebackers get good depth for Seattle, and this time the 49ers take advantage of it by passing to Christian McCaffrey underneath. This time it's a toss to Brian Robinson Jr., who gains positive yards on the left side of the line again. With the offensive linemen moving to their left, DeMarcus Lawrence tries to sneak inside, and Trent Williams is happy to let him. On 3rd and 2, the 49ers try to catch Seattle napping by taking an outside shot to Juwan Jennings. And it looks like Jennings is brought down. I'm a little surprised that this penalty wasn't called. Maybe the officials thought that both of them were being physical, but I think if you call that PI in the first quarter, you've got to call this one too. The officials decide to go with the no call, so it's going to be a field goal attempt for San Francisco, and here he is, the hero of the game, Jake Tonges, and here he's got a difficult assignment. He has to block Julian Love and Reek Woolen on the same play. How do you do this? All right, this is how you do it. You stay tight to the line, right? And you stick your left arm out as far as you can. You try to slow Reek Woolen down. Now, if Woolen goes around, it's going to take him too long to get to the football. That kick will be off. But the important thing is to stay tight to the line. You can let Reek Woolen go around. You cannot let Julian Love get to the inside. Well, Tonges moves to his left to try to pick up Woolen. Love does get to the inside, and the kick is blocked. And it's another huge momentum play for the Seahawks. San Francisco is dominating this game on the stat sheet. They crushed Seattle with more first downs, more passing yards, more rushing yards, and 38 minutes time of possession. But they are losing on the scoreboard, and that is what counts. Facing another 3rd down and 4, Sam Darnold would make a key play on a broken play. He's going to try to fit this ball into JSN, if you can believe it or not. And he makes it work. Wow, what a play that was. I don't know if I'd recommend it. All right, we've moved into the 4th quarter now. This game is just flying by, so the teams have switched sides, but this is the same drive. Leaning on one of their best players, the Seahawks call a screen for JSN, but the 49ers recognize the play and outflank the screen. And it's a fumble, and the 49ers recover. Oh my goodness. And here he is, Sam Akaiwanu, fooled initially by the screen, but he keeps hustling, keeps working at it, and punches out that football. Marquise Siegel with the recovery, and I haven't mentioned his name yet in this video, but he was all over the field on Sunday. 5 solo tackles in the game, tied for second behind Nick Bosa. So the 49ers are given an extra life here, and they pick up right where they left off. And really nothing too fancy here schematically, just a run to the left. And on this play, we see that Reek Woolen is lined up pretty aggressively against Ricky Pearsall in press coverage. And if you've been following this channel for some time, you know that we've talked about this. If you line up in the press, there's the risk that you could get beat deep. And well, that's exactly what happens here. And I like this little bit right at the end here. Pearsall throws in one step to the inside. Reek Woolen bites on the fake, and that's enough for Pearsall to come wide open for a big play. But 3 plays later, San Francisco would be facing 4th down and 2 from the 14-yard line. Now, ordinarily, you would just kick this field goal. It's only 14 yards away and you would tie the game. But there's no way that the 49ers could feel confident in their kicking situation right now. Jake Moody badly missed a chip shot early in the game that was a huge momentum play. And then the kicking unit allowed another kick to be blocked in the 3rd quarter. So they feel like they've really got no choice but to go for this one here. And incidentally, the special teams unit for the 49ers as a whole did not have a great game. Their kick coverage was not great, and all aspects of the special teams continue to struggle for the 49ers. The play itself is similar to one we looked at earlier. Christian McCaffrey making use of this little rub, very similar to the George Kittle touchdown in the 1st quarter. He's not going to gain a ton of yards on this, but he doesn't need to. It's only 4th and 2. And that ball was right on the money, by the way. When I saw this play live, I thought for sure this was a touchdown. You can see Ricky Pearsall is one-on-one against Reek Woolen, and it's essentially a race to the pylon. But Pearsall gives no move or look or anything really to the inside. I wish he would have done that. Take a look at Reek Woolen. His hips are still turned to the outside. It might look like Pearsall has a head start, but really Woolen's in great position here. And watch as he sprints full speed here and lays out and knocks away that football. And yeah, Reek Woolen's got to be feeling pretty good about himself after that PBU, after giving up that big play earlier in the drive. So the pass is incomplete, and now it's a 3rd down and 8. And Colton McKivitz, false starts. Now it's a 3rd down and 13, and this is a tough situation for the San Francisco offense. Just like we talked about earlier, that Seattle defense is going to have an advantage now on 3rd and goal, and it's a long 3rd and goal too. Again, Purdy is able to create some magic with his feet, but this one was just a bridge too far. All right, so now it's 4th and 13, and really there's no point in going for it, even with the struggles in your kicking game. But Moody has to make this one. Oh, and he does. It was nerve-wracking to watch, but he makes it, and the game is tied at 10 apiece. 9 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And unfortunately for Seattle, this play is an absolute disaster for the Seahawks. Darnold hit as he throws. The 49ers able to just blaze right through the blockers and tackle JSN for a huge loss on the attempted screen pass. So San Francisco, after finally scoring some points after the first drive of the game, is going to get the ball back. And here we would see a key sequence unfold for the 49ers. Boye Mafe beats Trent Williams to the inside, so Williams just pulls him down, and the flag comes out for holding. So now the 49ers are facing a 2nd down and 13, and I'm not sure if it's because of the long down and distance or what, but we talked about those poor throws from Brock Purdy earlier in the game. The first one to the end zone at the end of the first half, the one that was intercepted by Ernest Jones, and then here we get to the third of the 3 bad throws that I thought he had in this game. He really tried to force something here. All right, now I'm not too worried about this deep safety who was being cleared out here, or this linebacker who recognized the play late. Both of them run to the spot after the throw, kind of reacting to the throw. This is more of a one-on-one situation than it looks like, and we're going to take a look at it from the other angle. But it doesn't matter. The bottom line is Josh Jobe has great position on Ricky Pearsall here. Purdy said it was, a 50-50 type situation, and he threw it up to him. Personally, I don't like the decision. The protection was great. He wasn't under duress. There was no reason for him to force this ball down the field. And you can see here, more of a one-on-one play. Just a great play by Josh Jobe. That is outstanding. The Seahawks have some playmakers on defense. No doubt about that. Okay, so now the Seahawks have the ball. 3rd and 7, just under 4 minutes to play with a chance to potentially win the game. With the game potentially on the line, Robert Saleh calls an exotic blitz, and look at that. There's a free rusher coming right at Sam Darnold, and maybe that means he's got to throw this ball a little bit early. Tough to say, but I think Torrey Horton doesn't clear out Renardo Green as much as they would have liked on this play. Darnold cuts it loose for Cooper Kupp, and he makes the catch, but Green is able to rally and bring him down just short of the line to gain. Wow. And here we go. What a call this is by Robert Saleh. Kalia Davis drops in the pass coverage. D. Winters comes on the blitz. He's picked up by Zach Charbonnet, but that frees up number 36 to come right at the quarterback. Who is number 36? Rookie Marquise Siegel. Wow, what a game he had, and what a game Robert Saleh had. All right, 3:28 left in the game, 4th and 1. What do you do here if you're Seattle? I really thought like they were going to go for this, because if they pick up the first down, now they can really start chewing up that clock and kick a field goal very late, which would really make things difficult for the 49ers, or even score a touchdown, which probably would have done San Francisco in. Interestingly enough, Mike McDonald decides to kick the field goal. And they pointed out on the telecast that, Jake Moody was struggling all game. The 49ers didn't even want to have him attempt the last kick. So a field goal here is maybe a lot more powerful than we thought during the game. It really makes a lot of sense from a coaching standpoint. Really interesting bit of strategy. Of course, now you're giving the ball back to San Francisco with a chance of their own to win the game. And here we go. The 49ers looking for a big chunk. Ricky Pearsall takes a step to the inside. Reek Woolen again bites on the fake, and Pearsall comes wide open again on the outside. Boom, and he's still running. 45 yards on the play. What do you need to throw the ball deep? Time. In this crazy, insane, back and forth contest, we are headed for the 2-minute warning. Facing a 2nd down and 8, the 49ers would turn to an unlikely receiver. Well, with Brandon Ayuk not returning for several more weeks, and George Kittle and Juwan Jennings leaving the game with injury, other than Ricky Pearsall, who are you going to throw the ball to? Well, the answer is Jake Tonges. And he is running sort of a little rub route to the outside. The safety realizes it late and runs over to get in position. The problem is Brock Purdy is looking at the other side of the field. But in his haste to get over there, the safety accidentally overruns the play, and while Tonges' route calls for him to come back to the inside, and the timing of the Shanahan system is perfect. Back foot hits, and Brock Purdy makes his first read to MVS. He's not there, so he resets his feet and comes over to Christian McCaffrey. He's covered. So he resets again and comes back to his third read, Jake Tonges. But he's not looking at Jake Tonges here. He's looking at Ricky Pearsall before throwing a no-look pass to Jake Tonges. Wow, very impressive. Okay, minute 55 left, 1st and 10, and the Seahawks still have all 3 of their timeouts. So the 49ers would like to accomplish several things. They would like to call some kind of a play that would force the Seahawks to use some of their timeouts. They also have to get the ball into the hands of somebody, and they're running a little bit thin with their offensive playmakers. So they just keep it simple here and hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. In keeping with all of those same themes, the 49ers call a play that we've seen them call before in kind of these pressure situations, the Texas route. Third and goal. And as we've talked about before, the defense has the advantage in this situation. They can kind of stick a lot of defenders in the end zone. But like we've also seen time and time again in these situations, Brock Purdy can create magic with his feet. And the internet, of course, is divided. Was this a good throw or not? Well, I already talked about some of his poor throws earlier during the game, but you're not going to convince me this was a bad one. I like this throw a lot. He sees his bigger tight end working against a corner who struggled for most of the game. The 49ers have to score here, and they have to score a touchdown most likely to win this game. This, to me, is a situation where it makes sense to throw this kind of pass, and I love it, and I love the result. Touchdown, San Francisco. They go 68 yards in the 2-minute drill. Brock Purdy is 6 for 6 on the drive. Now, importantly, they're only up 3 here pending the extra point, and we don't know how this is going to go, but he makes it, giving the 49ers that crucial 4-point lead. Now, only a touchdown can beat them. A field goal does not help Seattle. Great play from Jake Moody, but here he makes an immediate mistake again afterwards. This ball must land in the landing zone, and then the coverage team needs to rally and make the tackle. Instead, he kicks it into the end zone for a touchback, which comes out to the 35-yard line. It's a huge mistake. And look, I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I'm just not the type of person that is going to revel in somebody losing their job. To me, it's a sad situation for the kid, and I wish him the best. But I'll say this, and I guess I'll say it rather bluntly. That is the last mistake he'll ever make for the San Francisco 49ers. So the Seahawks start with great field position, and they're able to move to the 46-yard line with just over a minute to go. They still have that timeout in their back pocket, but they need a touchdown. Robert Saleh sends a 5-man pressure, but this time it's the turn of Jackson Smith-Njigba to put a double move on the 49ers. Faking like he's cutting to the sideline, which would make sense. They would gain yardage and stop the clock and keep that time out. So the corner has to respect that move. He bites, and when he does, JSN turns upfield. And Darnold throws a dime. 40-yard gain on the play, and the Seahawks are in business. And check out the center, Jalen Sundell, who blocks 2 players on 1 play. That was awesome. Okay, 2nd and 5 now from the 9-yard line. It's a running clock, but the Seahawks are threatening. And it's a fumble, and Nick Bosa recovers. 49ers win the game. Let's go back to the snap. Nick Bosa on the power rush just pushes his man right back into Darnold and then recovers the fumble to seal the game for San Francisco. Well, what a game that was for the San Francisco 49ers. Back and forth, a lot of adversity. The missed field goals really set them back. Like I said, they dominated on the stat sheet, but it did not show up on the scoreboard because they weren't able to make those kicks. And give the Seattle defense a little credit too for keeping the 49ers out of the end zone. Nevertheless, it ends up a big win for the 49ers, who get the seemingly year after year free-falling New Orleans Saints next week. If the 49ers win that game, they will be 2-0 on the road to start the season. Well, you can't ask for any more than that. And for the Seattle Seahawks, on the other hand, this is a disappointment. Like I talked about at the top of the video, this is one they really wanted, a big division win at home in front of their fans to start the season 1-0 and get off on the right foot. I do believe that defense will be pretty good down the road. The offense really struggled at times in this game, and it still appears to be more of a work in progress than I guess I thought it would be. They travel next week to face the Pittsburgh Steelers, and like I said, that should be interesting because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be able to run around and make all those plays that Brock Purdy made. The Seahawks might get a few hits on good old Aaron, but Aaron had a pretty good game on Sunday, so who knows? You know, that's why they play the games. It's going to be interesting matchups going forward. For the 49ers, they are dealing, again, with a lot of injuries, right? George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and Brock Purdy all injured in this game. George Kittle on IR, out 4 weeks minimum. The Juwan Jennings injury not believed to be serious. It sounds like he'll be able to give it a go on Sunday. The one that's obviously interesting is Brock Purdy. He's got a left shoulder injury, non-throwing shoulder, so I'm not really too worried about that, but he also has a toe injury. Well, that does concern me quite a bit. You know, for one thing, these toe injuries can really derail an NFL career. You'd be surprised how much you need your toes, and you really do. Especially for a guy like Brock Purdy, who moves around in the pocket, moves around outside the pocket, keeps plays alive, scrambles, makes magic happen with his feet, right? Looks downfield, you know, is always completing magical passes and plays, just like on that last touchdown we watched. How many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen Brock Purdy do that? If he's got a foot problem, that is of big concern to me. He's pretty tough. Remember, he played that game on Thursday night as a rookie on Thursday on a short week against Seattle with broken ribs. So if I had to bet, I would say he'll probably will give it a go on Sunday against the Saints. If he can't, it will be Mac Jones, and then Brock Purdy probably would be back the following week for the home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Well, I'm going to keep it brief. This has been a long video. Thank you so much for hanging in there. It takes a long time to make a video like this, so if you could give me 10 more of your precious seconds and hit that like button on your way out, I would really appreciate it. Like we talked about earlier, at some point we're going to have to bring everybody over to the Patreon page. Please go sign up, even if it's just a free membership, because that is probably where these videos are going to be living more on a full-time basis as it becomes harder and harder to do this kind of thing on YouTube. I would like to stay on YouTube, but that's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. If you donated to this channel last year, I want to thank you right now for your incredible generosity. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you want to support the channel in any way, there's the super thanks button and, you know, other links below in the description, and you can always join the Patreon as well. You guys, I can't believe you do this for me. Thank you so much. You humble me and you honor me, and it allows me to take the time to do these videos right and give you the quality that you deserve. All right, next week it is going to be the Seahawks at the Steelers. I can't wait to see that game. All right, next week it is going to be the Seahawks at the Steelers. I can't wait to see that game. And the 49ers at the Saints. That is going to be interesting too. A lot up in the air with all of these teams now. It's the NFL. It doesn't get any better than this. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with more breakdown videos, and I will see you guys then.